Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 2 of Punting in Pauper, the show where I do my best not to absolutely stumble and punt my way through some Pauper games here on MTGO. I'm your host, Gord, and let's take a look at our list here today. We are playing a really fun, very cheap Orzhov Extort list. So we're going to go through it here. We're running 24 lands. We have 2 Basilicas, so that's 2 mana on each of them, and they bounce another land when they come into play. We're running some Plains. We have Scoured Barrens as our dual land. We can gain 1 life off that. And then we have some Swamps. Now, on to Creatures. So, we are playing 4 Nip Gwillions in the main here. It is just a 1/1 for 1 with lifelink, and it's in Orzhov color, so regardless of the land we have on turn 1, we can play it, right? Because it doesn't care whether we use white or black to play it. So, and that does come in handy with kind of the way we're wanting to go with this deck. We're also playing the Morning Thrall here, so I'll just pull it out so you can kind of see it. It's a 2 mana 1/1 Thrall, and it has flying, and it has whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life, so pseudo lifelink, right? Now, we also have the bomb of our deck here, the Night Sky Mimic. So, this is a 2/1 colorless and Orzhov Shapeshifter. So whenever you cast a spell that's both white and black, Night Sky Mimic has base power and toughness 4/4 until end of turn, and it gains flying. So that's kind of the combo, as it were, that we're going for with this deck. Is we're gonna try to get a Night Sky down on turn 2, and then pump like an Edge of Divinity on it, and that's gonna get it really big. So we're also playing Tide Drinker, so this is part of our Extort package. It's a 2 mana 2/1 with lifelink and Extort. So Extort is whenever we cast a spell. In this deck, we can pay 1 Orzhov, that is, we can pay Orzhov, so white or black, and then we get to drain the opponent for 1, and we'll gain 1. We also have the Kingpin's Pet, which is a 2/2 flyer thrall that also has Extort, so that's it there. And then we have the Blind Hunter here on the top of our curve. It's a 4/4. Or pardon me, it's a 4 mana 2/2 with flying and haunt. So haunt is not a keyword or mechanic that we see very often anymore, but when so the Blind Hunter or the creature that it haunts dies, target player loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. So kind of like a 4 life swing there, just even if they try to take care of it. So that's pretty good. Now, on to the spells. We have Edge of Divinity. This is a really interesting one. It's a 1 mana in Orzhov, and it's enchant creature. As long as enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+2, and as long as enchanted creature is black, it gets +2/+1. So as you'll notice here in the deck, we're not playing any monocolored creatures. All of our creatures are actually sharing black and white. So that is always a big buff, right? So that's pretty good. And if we can get that on a Night Sky Mimic on turn 3, that's a 7/7 flyer coming in on turn 3. So that's pretty good. Alright, we're also playing 4 Journey to Nowheres in the main as removal. So it's just an enchantment, enters the battlefield, it exiles a creature. If you play Pauper, you know this one well. We have Castigate, which is like our disruption, hand disruption spell. So target opponent reveals their hand and you're just going to choose a non-land and exile it. So it's pretty good. Then we also have Pillory of the Sleepless. Now this is a pretty cool card. It's pacifism with a black stapled onto it. So enchanted creature can't attack or block, and at the beginning of your upkeep, enchanted creature has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. So we throw that on opponent's bomb, and hopefully they just can't block with it anymore. They don't have a sack outlet, and they just start losing 1 life to it. So that's pretty good. We do have Unmake here as well. It's just 3 mana, Orzhov, exile target creature, so really good removal. Alright, so onto the sideboard here. We're playing Circle of Protection Red, just to help us race burn, kind of keep us safe against the red decks. Lone Missionary for a similar effect, right? When it enters the battlefield, we'll just gain 4 life. Just to help us with the burn matchups. Of course, it doesn't synergize as well with like Night Sky Mimic and all that kind of stuff, or the Edge of Divinity, but that's why it's in the side. We have Holy Light, we have 2 copies of that, and it's just non-white creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn, so that can help us sweep the board a little bit. So yeah, 2 copies of that. 2 copies of Dust to Dust, which is just 1 and 2 white to exile 2 target artifacts. It helps us take care of those prophetic prisms that we see a lot in Pauper, that's for sure. And over here we have 1 copy of Undying Evil, which just gets target creature undying till end of turn. So if we can slap that on like a blind hunter, we can get a lot of value out of that. All right. We also have choking sands for the Tron matchup. Just 1 and 2 black, and destroy target non-swamp swamp. Destroy target non-swamp land, and if that land was non-basic, choking sands deals 2 damage to that land's controller. So if we're up against Tron, this can just blow up their lands, and then they're taking 2 for it. So we do have an extra castigate in here in case we need to kind of disrupt some sort of combo, and then we got Bajuka Bogs in the side here if we need to hate on graveyards at all. So that's the deck. Let's do some punting and see how it goes. We'll catch you in game 1. Alright, hello everyone. Here we are in punting in some Pauper, playing Orzhov Extort. And what do we have here? So we have 2 pieces of removal and a Tide Drinker. And 4 lands. It's not very fast, and we don't know what we're up against. But I think we'll keep it. Let's see what happens. I am a little bit worried that there's going to be a lot of cycling decks going around right now. Okay, so they got a Scoured Barons. That's maybe just the mirror. So they're going to gain 1. Alright. Kingpin's Pet. So that's actually not too bad. We're just going to drop a Plymouth here, and that's all we got. So hopefully they play something here, and maybe we can journey. So Hunted Witness. Okay. So that's going to leave a body. Oh, and a Carrion Feeder, hey? So we need to take care of the Carrion Feeder, because that can get out of control really quick. So, we're going to play our Swamp, and we're just going to journey that right now. So journey, Carrion Feeder. Now they can go right ahead and sack, no, okay, cool. Alright. So, let's hope opponent doesn't main Enchantment 8. They have an Unearth. Okay. Oh, they cycle Unearth. My apologies. And another Hunted Witness. Alright. Take 1. You got it. Okay. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to play our Kingpin's Pet. Because now we have a blocker, providing they have no tricks. And then we can extort the Tide Drinker next turn, and then extort Nipquillian, or we can extort Pillory if they get a bigger threat on board there. So, I'm gonna place land, and okay, that's a cool card. Unruly Mob. So whenever something else dies, we're just gonna put a 1/1 counter on it. So that's okay, because we're okay with blocking. We have ways to take care of it. So okay, we'll block one of these witnesses. So their soldiers do have lifelink. That is something to consider. We're going to play a Plains. Do we want to get our Tide Drinker down now? Or do we want to just put the Pillory on the Unruly Mob so we don't have to lose too much? I think we maybe want them to go in on the Unruly Mob a little bit more, so we're just going to go to our second main. No, we'll get in for 2. That only makes sense. Get in for 2. We're not going to... we are going to block next turn. Darn it. There was a punt. First punt of the night. Yeah, we wanted to block one of these soldiers, but that's okay. We will play out our Tide Drinker. We are going to extort. Lose 1, gain 1. Now we have our Tide Drinker down. So next turn we can land, and then if we Pillory, we can extort twice. Or if we just Nipquillian for another body, we can extort twice as well. So, one plays another land. And gets in for 4. They're going to go up 1 to 19. I think this is okay. Yep, you got it, opponent. Alright. We draw a second Pillory, so I think in that case, I'm just okay playing that here. We'll always yield to that ability. And looks like they may have a chance to respond. Oh, they casted Altar's Reap. Oh, yeah, as initial cause, draw 2 cards. Yep, makes sense. Seems good for them. We're still going to extort, so... So that evens things out a little bit. Alright, we'll go to combat for 4 here. Try to get ahead a little bit. And we're going to gain 2 because our Tide Drinker has lifelink, so that's not too bad. If they flash in like a... Yeah, okay, we're good here. Cool. So we probably take 2, they probably gain 1. They gain 1 off their Scour Barons, okay? And then they unearth their mob. Okay, you got it. And a Doom Traveler, for sure. So they're just kind of like going all in on the Unruly mob, hey? So they get in for 1, gain 1. Got it, opponent. Alright. No land. We draw land. We'll play a land. And I think we'll just go for another Pillory here. Do our extorting. They don't have any black open, so there's no way they're doing the Altar's Reap again, so we'll pay for that, yeah. Got it. So now, do we start winning this race if we just swing in, right? Because the most they can hit us for is 3, go to 17, but we're going to gain 2, so that's 1. Yeah, I think we just keep the pressure on. Just keep the pressure on. Now, if they find another carrion feeder, that could be bad for us, but that's why we're just going to try to go fast and hard here. So, alright. So they lose 1 because of the Pillory on it. Selfless Cathar. Creatures get pumped. Okay, that's pretty good. So they can get in for 2, 4, 6 here. If they do that way. Okay, they sack the mob. Yep, makes sense. So they did draw the second Altar's Reap. And another Doom Traveler. Okay, so now we need to start playing a little bit more defensively here. Oh, and as soon as I say it, they scoop it up. So, I mean, we would have been able to get in 2 turns. So, even if they were swinging board, we did have time to do some drawing. We would have been able to play Nip and stuff. So, anyways, let's do some sideboarding. So, bringing in Bojuka Bogs does help us kind of take out or not the cycling, but the cycling and the unearth. So we'll go down 2 swamps and bring in our Bojuka Bogs for sure. Dust to Dust. We didn't see any artifacts. Holy Light doesn't help us in this matchup because they just are all white creatures. So with that being said, do we want an Undying Evil or another Castigate? You know what? I think we'll go down a Morning Thrall for a Castigate, just because it's nice to have that, just to kind of remove any of their threats in hand. So, alright, let's submit and go on to the next one. So, opponent's going to play first. We do have a turn 2 Night Sky, and then we can Morning Thrall to make it a 4/4, get in, try to go on the aggressive plan. The one thing is that the removal was really important for us last time. But I think we're going to risk it. 4 lands doesn't seem like a death sentence for this deck. So we are going to be playing a tap land on turn 1, which is a little rough. But that's what it is. So they get down a Bodyguard. So sacrifice it. Gains protection from the color of your choice. Okay, that seems pretty good in their deck, for sure. We draw... Okay, we draw the Tide Drinker, so that's not bad. So we'll play Scour Barons. Gain life and just pass it along. So we're still going to turn to Night Sky Mimic. Try to put up the pressure. There's the mob. Okay, you got it. And they get in for 1. And our turn, we draw. Journey to Nowhere. Well, we could just play it safe and try to take out an Unruly mob now and slow them down, which might be just a smarter play. So let's play it Slafe. The Slafest. Journey to Nowhere. Sack. And they're going to give it protection from white. Yep, there's another punt. Always punting. We're always punting. Yep, so they're going to give it protection from white. And then Journey's not going to do anything about it. So that was a little bit of a misplay, but that's why we are punting in Pauper. Cool. Well, the nice thing is it still stays on our board and looks pretty. That art is just fantastic. Who are we kidding? Opponent plays a second mob. So. Yeah, we definitely was overthinking that one. So we'll take 2. You got it. So what do we draw here? We draw an Edge of Divinity. So let's go in on our Night Sky plan. Hopefully they don't have any removal for it. And we make it look like we have Defile or something in hand. We're not playing Defile, unfortunately. Which, I mean, is typically speaking a better card in, like, mono black builds. But this is a budget list, so we are just going with the what we can afford here. So, and I mean, we also want to get the 2-colored spells so that we can do that. So now next turn, we can play our Swamp, and then we can just make our Divinity a 7/7. Let's see what opponent does here. Oh, they're going to O-Ring. Yep, so we're going to lose the Night Sky. Yep, you got it, opponent. They get in for 3. That's okay. We can still come back from this. Opponent only has 1 more card in hand. So they don't have a sack outlet right now. And we can start gaining life. So let's play a Tide Drinker. And then let's play a Swamp. Now, if we play out another threat, we can't extort. We can edge a Divinity on the Tide Drinker and then extort, but we're opening ourselves up to a 2-for-1 if they have like another O-Ring or something in hand after their draw here. So we're taking 4 for sure this turn, putting us to 11, but then we can hopefully start to stabilize by throwing an edge on something and going from there. So I think that's the way we're going to do this. Let's see what they draw and what they play. Okay, so sack a creature, and it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So, pretty good. They have a sack outlet now, and everything else is going to get bigger. So, the opponent's probably feeling pretty good here. Yep, you got it. Now, do they just sack now and try to punch in for more? Nope. Alright, just do it like that. Alright, so now they have a blocker, 2 mana open, but it is our turn. So, we could do the old pillory. But I think we want to try to gain more life. So that being said, we are going to white, black, Tide Drinker number 2. We will extort. So now we have a blocker that can gain us life. Then we're going to edge a Divinity here. And we can't extort, so don't have the mana for it. But next turn we can extort a couple times. So we have a 5/4 lifelinker. So they can sack and sack to try to get things bigger, but that's okay. So we're just going to play defensively here. We have more threats in the back. So if they want to sack their board to it, to not take the damage, which I don't think they would, right? Do we want to get in? That's the question, right? Because we can swing it for 5, they can block here, and they can sack 1, 2, and then that's all they need, and they only really lost their Doom Traveler and the Blood Throne, and then this gets bigger, and then we don't have anything back on our defense. So I think we'll just stay defensively for now. Hopefully we draw removal or another land, and then we can maybe get some extort value here. So I think next turn we'll probably Pillory one of the unruly mobs, if that's possible, but we'll see here. Okay, so they Altars Reap. So they're going to draw some cards, and they're going to get some value. That's okay. Because if we throw Pillory on something, they can just sack it, but, I mean, it gets it off the board. Like, this one will get a little bit bigger, but that's the way it is. I don't think they're going to attack in this turn. Okay, cool. So we draw another Edge of Divinity. So is that threatening? We can Morning Thrall extort, but then we can't Edge of Divinity extort. But if I just Edge of Divinity, I can extort twice, and then we have big lifelinkers, and then, I mean, they have to use removal spells on it, I suppose, but then we still have stuff in the background, so, well, let's try it. So we're going to Edge on this one, spread out our resources a little bit, make us a little bit more defensive. But we're going to extort for sure. Get some of our life back. So the nice thing is now we're getting in for damage, we're gaining life, and we don't have to leave ourselves open. So it's 2, but it's a 4 life swing. They lost 2, we gained 2, so we're not going to attack. So we'll just pass over to the opponent. So now they have to sack a lot. Okay, so they gain 1. To get through these guys. And there's the bodyguard. Okay, so that's going to get them through. That's not amazing. But they're still just going to pass here, so okay. So we draw second Pillory. So if we Pillory on something, they are going to either sack their Benevolent Bodyguard and make it bigger, or they sack it to the Blood Throne. So that puts us in a little bit of a tough position here. Now we can swing in and gain 10 life, but they can also kill some of our stuff, and then we don't get any extort triggers this turn. Or we can just play a Morning Thrall, get another 1/1 on the battlefield that blocks this spirit and, you know, keeps us safe, gets us a redraw. And if they sack this, it's just 1 target creature, so they could give it, say here, they give it Pro White, and then it gets in for, at most, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which, I don't know, isn't all that scary. We're just gonna stay back, play defensive, see what happens. Just kind of gain some life, pack theirs away a little bit. They can't give themselves protection from the extort ability as it is right now, so. Now we have another 1/1 lifelinker, pseudo lifelink on the battlefield to kind of keep us safe, so. Alright. And we're just going to pass it along again. So just like that, now we're evened out for life again. So we are giving our opponent a chance to redraw and stuff, but... Alright, so another mob is beginning combat. Let's see what they do. They have no cards in hand, luckily enough. They don't do anything. Okay. So we unmake. So we can unmake the bodyguard and then extort it. And then that gets rid of the protection. So then once we try to Pillory, they just have to sack the creature. So I think that's actually pretty good. Do we want to main phase it though? It is an instant. But the thing is they have no responses right now. They have no cards in hand, so we're just going to do it. Unmake, targeting bodyguard. And we'll extort once. So they can sacrifice it all they want. We still have Tiebreaker ability, so we can still extort one. So yeah, they sack. Everything gets bigger. Which, I mean, we kind of saw happening. And we will pay white. So extort from in. No. And okay, no target, so unmake just hits the graveyard, but it is what it is. Alright, and then we just pass our turn here. So opponent still has some pretty, like, decent threat on board. They play Scour Barons. Don't attack. Okay. We draw a plane, so we'll play that planes, and now we can extort twice. And we can pillory on this mob, and then they likely sack the mob, which, I mean, makes everything else bigger, but then we got rid of it, so it was essentially a removal spell. So we're going to do that. They have no way to protect it. They just have to kill it off, and then maybe they'll wait till their next turn, but we don't really care, because we just want to extort. Keep swinging the life, so, yep. And yep. Okay. So they let it resolve, so interesting. And we don't block. Or, pardon me, we don't attack. We're just gonna pass it through. We're getting in damage this way, and we're staying a couple cards up on our opponent. So yeah, there they go. Well, they sack on their turn to give it +2/+2. Makes sense. Oh no, they did an end step, so they didn't have to lose the life. So there's like that bar. Cool. So they can do that this turn, and then that's a 5/5, 2/2, 2/2, 3/3. Okay. They won't do it this turn though, by the looks of it. Nope. Okay. So we draw. Ooh, we get Journey. So we can do that. Extort twice, leave 1 mana open, make it look like we have something. So we're gonna white, black, Journey. And again, they're just going to probably sack it, but it's just 2 mana removal then if they sack it, and we're getting our Extort triggers. So it's not the worst thing in the world here. And we will target this unruly mob, right? Yes, I think that's the correct play. So yep, they look like they're going to sack. Again, we're not surprised. We got what we wanted out of the ordeal, so we're just going to, again, pass our turn. And you notice their board's getting smaller, so that feels pretty good. Now, next turn, we try to cast another Pillory on this unruly mob, and then we can start swinging in. So let's see what they draw here. Another Vampire. Okay. That's okay, because it doesn't get counters. So, alright. They're just gonna pass it on over to us. So, okay, let's see what we draw. Hopefully not land. Okay, so it is land. But that's okay. They have no cards in hand. We're just gonna go black, white, black, Pillory, targeting this unruly mob. We have 2 extorts. And opponent scoots it up. So you see, we were able to just kind of lock our opponent into a position where they weren't really able to swing. That wouldn't have just gained us a bunch of life, and we were just able to kind of win that battle of attrition through the extort. So it doesn't seem like we're doing much, but that was 2 life a turn, right, with staying extremely defensive. So not only can the deck attack quickly with like a Night Sky Mimic play, which we tried to kind of pull off early in this second game, but it didn't really work for us. But hey, this was good. We did it. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, here we are for game number 2 in Punting in Pauper. We won the die roll. We're gonna play first. Let's see what we have. All right, so we have a Basilica, which we can't play because there's no other bounce targets. If we had one more land here, this would actually be a pretty good hand, but this won't work, so we're gonna have to mulligan. All right, we have 2 lands. We have a Thrall, Edge of Divinity, Nip, and Tide Drinker. So I think we'll keep this, and we'll throw the Nip Gwillion down on the bottom. And this way, we can get a flying threat. It was between the Thrall and the Nip Gwillion, but I kind of like the idea of just having a flyer, so. Alright, so we are going to play out of planes, and we'll just pass the turn. Hopefully we draw another land, so that Pillory isn't a dead card. So, okay, this is Tron. Alright. So if you're unfamiliar with Tron, you're about to see some pretty crazy stuff. So we want to try to be as aggressive and fast as we can. So let's get a Tide Drinker down here. Next turn we can turn it into a 5/4. We can extort, so we can edge onto it, extort, and then Basilica. And hopefully that'll help us somewhere. So they're going to crack the map. You got it. Oh no, they're playing another map. Okay. So, we are going to first start by playing Edge of Divinity on our Tide Drinker. We will extort. So, alright. Get in for 5. Game 5, alright. And then on our second main here, we're going to play out our Basilica. And we'll bounce. Bounce the planes back to our hand. Alright. So the life gain isn't actually all that great for us. Okay. Whew. So we were able to outrace them. So essentially, if Tron and Pauper is trying to flicker a bunch of threats, that makes it really hard for us to do it. So, sideboarding time. We are going to bring in our Choking Sands, blow up those Tron lands. And for those, we're going to go down 2 Gwillions, 1 Journey, and we'll go down 3 Gwillions. I think we also want to bring in the extra Castigate to remove any combo pieces or any maps from their hand. And for that, we're going to go down and Unmake. No, we actually need the Unmakes just in case, because they can get stuff back from their graveyard a lot. Okay. So we have 3 lands in hand. We have a Castigate, 2 Gwillions, and a Blind Hunter. So, I think we're gonna keep this and see what opponent does here. So we got a power plant and a map. Okay. So we're up against Tron. So we're just gonna play our Plains and Gwillion because we want to go aggressive and try to just take them out before they can get Tron online. So next turn, what we're gonna do is Castigate, try to rip any pieces out of their hand. So they're going to be able to find their next Tron land here. So, okay. So another Gwillion. Well, we'll play Swamp, and we will Castigate. Alright, so what do we want to get rid of here? All of it. Well, Prism is fixing for them. So that's the only way they're going to be able to actually play any of these spells right now, so we're just going to get rid of the Prism. And that's exiled, so they can't even get it back yet. So, alright. And we'll get in for 1. Alright. And we'll pass to our opponent. They crack mana. Go get the tower, and then Tron is online. Oh, no, they'll grab Island. Interesting. I guess that makes sense. They want to be able to play out their compulsive research here. Yep. Alright. So they're going to draw 3, and then they have to discard 2 unless they discard a land. So, okay, they discard mine. Have 6 cards in hand, so, okay. Untap. We want to play our Scoured Barrens here so that we can actually play our Blind Hunter on the right turn. Now we can run out another Gwillion, which I think we might do. Fortunately, we're not hitting any really big threats yet, but that's okay. Like I said, maybe we just play them both out, because we do want to be aggressive, and getting in for 3 next turn starts to really make a difference, so we'll do it. We don't have any Extort here, so we're really not losing any value yet, as we're probably going to draw some Extort after, but that's okay. We'll get our 3 1/1 lifelinks out there. And they Impulse. Alright. They don't have Tron online yet. And they can't play their wall yet, so we're still doing alright here. Okay, so they got Cave of Temptation, so that can do some fixing for them. But they do have to put one into it, so we're just going to keep up the aggressiveness here. We draw a Mimic. So, we're going to play a Swamp. Alright. We're going to get in for 3. Perfect. And then on our second main, I think we're going to get a little bit greedy, and we're going to play out our Night Sky Mimic. Because that means we swing in for 7 next turn if we just play like a Blind Hunter. So, opponent has a response. Condescend. So, X is 0. Okay. They just want the scry, maybe? We will pay 0 for Condescend. Opponent's scrying. And they go 2 on the bottom, so that's actually pretty good for us. Okay. So if opponent has another land here, they can play out their Mnemonic Wall. So they get a tap land, so that's okay. Okay. Now, can they? No. So they're gonna get a Stonehorn Dignitary or a Mnemonic Wall down here pretty soon. So we want to get in really hard and fast here. So if we Blind Hunter, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 is 9. And then they're just on a clock, right? Or we have Exile, or then we have removal here for anything, and Exiling is really good because they can get stuff back from their graveyard pretty easily in this deck. Or we can Tide Drinker, which still turns on Night Sky, and then we can start extorting if we have to, if we start losing out on combats due to Stonehorn and stuff like that. So I think we're going to Tide Drinker. That'll trigger Night Sky. Alright, comes down. Alright, so we'll go to combat. Get in for 7. So hopefully we can draw a land next turn so that we can Blind Hunter Extort. And then I think we just win. But we'll see what opponent has here. Looks like Stonehorn. So yep. So we have to skip our next combat phase. Really slows us down, but that's okay because we can just exile it and extort. So that's not too bad. Or we can play out another Tide Drinker and extort. What are we more scared of here? Because we know they have Mnemonic Wall in hand, and that's going to grab them another instant or sorcery, which is going to be either a counter, their impulse, or their compulsive research. They also have the Dinrova Horror, which is going to bounce stuff and then make us discard. So if we do that, do they have enough to play the Dinrova though? They need 6 mana, they have 5 available. So if they have a black source, or if they find their Tron land, then we kind of feel on it. How do we want to do this? I think, because as long as they don't flicker, tough choice. This way we get in for just the 1. We're going to play out the Tide Drinker. Triggers, yep. And we will extort. That'll wait. No. Okay. So we don't get to go to combat this turn because of the Stonehorn. But hopefully we can get our opponent here on the crackback. So let's see what happens. They can Mnemonic Wall, but then that means they don't have anything else to play. So there's a Prism, so they get to redraw. We'll yield to that. And then another Stonehorn. Go figure. So what we're going to do then is we're going to run out our Blind Hunter, which is going to hit them for 2. right? And then we extort. So that's 2 and 1, or we can unmake, extort twice. No, I think we're better off to Blind Hunter. We can't attack, so we'll plains, black, like that. Play out our Blind Hunter. So Night Sky turns on. We're going to pay for the first one. Yep. We can't pay for the next one. Night Sky trigger. And when this enters, we're going to hit them for 2. Okay. Alright, so, I mean, we're pretty good, but if Tron can find the lock, then we're just in a bad spot. Nice thing is we can unmake and extort twice. So, I mean, we do have some defense. Let's see what they have here. Impulse. So they're going to look at some cards. Probably looking for the tower, because they haven't played a land yet. And if they hit tower, then we're scared. Opponent hits mine. Okay, that's not too bad. So they can play the wall again. Let's hope they don't have another dignitary. Okay, making blue. Okay, they're gonna flicker those, so. Yep. So this is what I was talking about, is that they can just start making us skip combats. So it's good that we have the reach to get through here. But next turn they can now Mnemonic Wall, get back their Ghostly Flicker, and they're starting to put us into a little bit of a pickle here. So we're gonna play out our Kingpin's Pet and extort twice, and then next turn we can exile, extort 3 times, and we should be able to just win from there. So we'll do it like this, Kingpin's Pet. Yep, all these trigger. And okay, opponent sees what's coming, and they scoop it up. So let's go to do. Alright, so how did we do Punting in Pauper today with our Orzhov Extort list? And when all is said and done, I'm really happy with this deck. It was a lot of fun to play, and it got the job done in both the games we played. So, game 1 was a black-white sacrifice deck, and that was a really interesting matchup, because they were able to kind of dodge a lot of our removal by sacking away their threats to kind of pump up other creatures and get some value out of it. But when all is said and done, we were able to kind of play defensively and take it to the end. So in our first game against that deck, when we were able to remove their Carrion Feeder, I think that's what really pushed us through and really kind of wrapped up that game for us. The feeder wasn't allowed to go crazy, and it can get really big, really fast. So I'm glad that one went the way it did. And then in game 2, opponent had us in some really tight spots. But thanks again to our extort back on the defensive side, we were able to just kind of like get in our pillories and our journeys, and they would still have to sacrifice their creatures in response. So essentially removing them, and then we were able to trigger extort once or twice, and you get some good life swings going in there. So yes, the deck can be super aggressive and do the Night Sky Mimic thing, 7/7 on turn 3, getting in for lots of damage, or we can play defensive and we get a lot of reach and damage pushing through with extort. Now, game 2, you might have noticed that there were some weird edits in there. So basically what had happened was we started a game, opponent jumped in, and we had the aggressive kind of early attack in because we knew we were up against Tron, and so opponent scooped it up. We went to sideboarding, and then they scooped in the middle of sideboards. So then after that, I hopped back into the play lobby and noticed that opponent had another game open. So I hopped in that one, and then we played that first one, and then when we went to sideboarding again, they scooped it up again. So I just want to say, we all have those days, right, where you're playing Magic, things aren't going your way, and sometimes you're just like, you know what, I'm done, I'm going to take a break. So no shade thrown upon the opponent there. I've definitely, been in that position where you're just like, I think I'm done here. So that's right. But I thought, just seeing Tron in action, and for anybody who hasn't really played Pauper or any sort of format that has a Tron deck in it, you can kind of get to see what they're looking to do. So essentially, once they get the 3 Tron lands out, which are Urza's Towers, Urza's Mine, and Urza's Power Plant, that taps for a total of 7 colorless mana. And once they can do that, they have like their prisms and those like fixing lands to have a lot of mana up, and then they can start a loop where they're using creatures like the Dinrova Horror, the Mnemonic Wall, and the Stonehorn Dignitary. And so the Dignitary stops us from going to combat. Mnemonic Wall will grab instants and sorceries from their graveyard, and then the Horror will bounce creatures back to our hands and then make us discard. So if we have an empty hand, unfortunately, now we start discarding our creatures, and it's essentially a kill spell, right? Now, the spells they play are Ephemerate and Ghostly Flicker, and what that does is, Ephemerate, if you're familiar, 1 mana, exile, bring it back, so you get the ETB again, and then it has rebound, so they can play that again on their next upkeep for free. And then Ghostly Flicker hits 2 targets, so that they can flicker them, and it does essentially the same thing, but it's going to hit the graveyard. Now the Mnemonic Wall is going to keep grabbing those spells, and then you get into a lock where opponents drawing lots of cards, and they're getting all these amazing ETBs, and then it's really hard to come back from. So we saw both games we went on the aggressive plan, and it worked out for us for the most part. And then in the end, with Tron as well, we were able to get that reach and push through that damage with our extort triggers. And you did see what we would have sideboarded in had we went into a second game. So that's where Choking Sands came in. We brought in another Castigate and then the Dust to Dust to blow up the prisms, and probably would have played Bajuka Bogs as well, just to exile their graveyard as an attempt to kind of save ourselves. Anyways, what do I think of the deck? It's absolutely fantastic, a lot of fun, and it is cheap as they come. I think I paid $5 total for this online, and that counted the foils, right? Like the deck is foiled out, and sometimes on MTGO the foils are cheaper, so that's nice. But yeah, so if you're interested in playing Pauper at all, if you want a nice cheap deck that can win some games to get you started, I think Orzhov Extort's a really, really good place to go. So I just want to thank everybody for joining in and watching us today. It was a whole lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the next one.